The motorcycle market just hit the wall. Sales are crashing, factories are freezing, and dealers are closing overnight. This isn't a slump, it's a full-blown collapse. Repossessions are exploding, buyers are gone, and the industry is on life support. What's coming next will shake everything to the core. From Slowdown to Freefall. The motorcycle industry in 2025 isn't just experiencing a downturn, it is unraveling. What manufacturers once described as a market cool-down has rapidly mutated into something far more dangerous. As the summer arrives, it is now undeniable. This is not a temporary dip or a post-pandemic correction. It is a full-scale collapse, the kind that rewrites market structures and leaves long-term damage in its wake. At the start of the year, manufacturers clung to optimism. There were marketing blitzes, factory incentives, and bold promises that new models and aggressive financing would reignite demand. Instead, consumer interest vanished. 6 months in, the crisis has deepened to a point no one in the industry anticipated. As of June, more than 60,000 new motorcycles sit unsold at dealerships across the United States, a figure that grows weekly. These are not backlogged specialty units or high-priced showpieces. Many are core models, entry-level machines, and volume sellers that once flew off showroom floors. Today, they are collecting dust. Some have gone untouched for more than 300 days. Even steep markdowns, zero-down offers, and promotional flash sales have failed to reverse the trend. Big names are suffering across the board. Harley-Davidson, Indian, Honda, Yamaha, Ducati, and BMW are all seeing sharp drops in sales velocity. The sense of urgency has morphed into dread. This is not a pricing issue or a temporary lull. This is a structural fracture in the demand cycle itself. Motorcycles are not moving because the buyers are gone. The collapse is not slowing, it is accelerating, and the first signs of that acceleration are clearest on the showroom floor. Just walk inside and you will see what changed. The motorcycle market is facing massive changes, and if you're looking for strategies to survive, hit that like button, share your thoughts below, and subscribe to stay in the loop. Dealerships are dying in silence. There was a time when motorcycle dealerships buzzed with energy. On weekends, you would hear the rumble of test rides, see new riders checking out gear, and watch staff racing between customers. Today, you can walk through some of the largest dealerships in the country and hear nothing but silence. No laughter, no tire kicks, no revving engines, just stillness. Dealerships across the country have become ghost towns. Salespeople sit idle, leaning against empty desks. Service bays are quiet. Mechanics, once overwhelmed with pre-ride season appointments, now have nothing to do. Store managers, pacing behind tinted glass, look at inventory sheets with growing alarm. The energy that once defined these spaces has evaporated. The mood is somber, almost funereal. According to the National Powersports Dealer Association, foot traffic is down by 38% compared to the previous year. Online inquiries have dropped by more than 50%. This is not just a dip, it is a collapse in consumer engagement. Riders are not calling, they are not clicking, and most crucially, they are not showing up. The deeper reason lies in the numbers. Motorcycle prices have outpaced reality. A Harley-Davidson Road Glide now costs more than $30,000. A BMW GS 1250 Adventure starts between $25,000 and $28,000. Even a budget naked bike like the Yamaha MT-07 can cross the $9,000 mark after dealer fees. 5 years ago, these machines were thousands cheaper. The average motorcycle price has risen by more than 40% since 2020. Combine that with registration, gear, insurance, and taxes, and the cost of entry now rivals that of a basic sedan. Riders who tried to make it work are now walking away, leaving lenders with bikes worth less than what is owed. And those repossessed machines, they are beginning to flood the market. Don't ride out unprepared. Trusted gear picks are linked below if you need to update your setup fast. The used market just collapsed. Not long ago, used motorcycles were the safety valve of the powersports world. For buyers on a budget, they offered a way into the lifestyle without the pain of brand new pricing. For sellers, they offered strong resale value, often with quick cash returns. That world is gone. Today, used motorcycles are sitting unsold. Even desirable bikes, low mileage, good condition, clean title, are being ignored or aggressively lowballed. A Honda Africa Twin that sold for $12,000 or $13,000 in 2023 can now be found for $7,500 to $9,000, depending on condition. And even at those prices, it is not moving. Private sellers are being undercut by banks and dealers dumping repossessed units. Facebook Marketplace listings go unanswered. Dealers are slashing trade-in offers by 20% or more just to stay liquid. The psychology of the market has shifted. Buyers now expect prices to fall further. They are hesitant. They are cautious. Many are holding out for the bottom, and they might be right to do so. The inventory glut is growing, not shrinking. Cash buyers are few, and credit-based deals are increasingly toxic. Even with markdowns, there is no rush to purchase. Worse, the floor is still collapsing. Many sellers believe that waiting until spring will restore value, but spring demand failed to appear in 2025, and early projections for 2026 are even weaker. The used market is now a game of timing, and for most private sellers, that timing window is closing fast. The buyers are not just waiting, they are watching, and what happens next will shake the very foundation of the motorcycle industry itself. Manufacturers are hitting the brakes. The warning signs are no longer subtle. What began as quiet production slowdowns in early 2025 have now become sweeping public retreats. The motorcycle industry's biggest brands, once aggressive, ambitious, and bullish about growth, are slamming the brakes hard. And it is not because they want to, it is because they have to. Harley-Davidson has already announced a 35% reduction in third-quarter output. 2 assembly lines have been idled indefinitely, and dealer allocations for several touring models have been suspended due to what insiders are calling market rebalancing. Indian Motorcycles, once the scrappy upstart with bold expansion plans, is now cutting back model availability and halting production of slower-selling trims. Even Honda, one of the most stable and conservative players in the industry, has quietly scaled back United States-bound shipments by 20% since April. The story is the same at BMW, which has postponed its North American expansion projects. And at Zero Motorcycles, a company once hailed as the electric future of 2 wheels, layoffs have already trimmed more than 12% of its workforce. None of these are signs of strategic realignment. They are signs of panic. These companies are pulling back not because they have a better plan, but because the current one is bleeding them dry. And these aren't just short-term production pauses. These are strategic retreats based on data that's painting a grim picture. Internal forecasts at several manufacturers reportedly show sustained negative demand curves extending well into 2026. In other words, they're not betting on a recovery next quarter. They're preparing for 2 or 3 years of suppressed sales. For an industry built on volume, this is catastrophic. Motorcycles aren't smartphones. You can't sell fewer and make up the difference in services. When bikes sit on showroom floors for 250 days, when dealers beg for floor plan relief, and when buyers stay frozen due to financial anxiety, the entire manufacturing equation breaks down. These manufacturers are not adapting, they're retreating. And their decision to pull back production is setting off another wave of destruction, one that's sweeping through dealership networks like a wildfire. Dealerships are dropping like flies. Since the beginning of January 2025, nearly 120 motorcycle dealerships have permanently closed their doors across the United States. That is an average of 1 every 48 hours. What began as a trickle of rural closures in late 2024 has turned into a full-scale industry retreat, and no region is immune. From California to Ohio to Florida, both mega dealers and family-run shops are vanishing at a pace the industry has not seen in 2 decades. Some of these shutdowns are quiet, a handwritten sign on the door, a for lease notice taped to the glass. Others are more dramatic. Going out of business sales with slashed prices, desperate Facebook ads, and showroom liquidations. And in nearly every case, the root cause is the same: unsold inventory, floor plan debt, and a vanishing customer base. High-end models like Harley's Road Glide Special or BMW's GS Adventure, once considered dealer gold mines, are now sitting unsold for 9 months or more. Entry-level machines that used to turn over weekly, like the Rebel 500 or the Z400, are collecting dust. Dealerships live and die by inventory turnover. When bikes don't move, interest accumulates on floor plan loans, overhead mounts, and cash flow dries up. Eventually, something gives. And once a dealer starts spiraling, recovery becomes nearly impossible. Manufacturer support evaporates, customer trust weakens, and reputation suffers. Some dealers are trying to consolidate, merging with other regional players to survive. Others are pivoting into powersports gear, ATVs, or scooters where demand remains slightly more stable. But many are simply closing down for good, leaving behind empty buildings and shattered communities of riders. And the next chapter of this crisis is beginning to write itself. And it's not just about business anymore. It's about identity, regulation, and rebellion. The riders who left aren't returning. It used to be said that once someone became a rider, they'd never give it up. The road, the freedom, the culture, it stayed in their blood. But in 2025, that's no longer true. The riders who defined the golden age of motorcycling are walking away, and their replacements, they are not showing up. The generational core of motorcycling, baby boomers and early Gen X riders, is rapidly aging out. For decades, they anchored the industry, filling garages with cruisers, touring bikes, and sport tourers. These riders bought gear, joined clubs, and planned their lives around riding seasons. But now, many of them are in their 60s or 70s. Some are facing physical limitations. Others are dealing with healthcare costs or downsizing their lifestyles. Riding, once essential, has become optional. Thousands are selling off bikes, not to upgrade, but to exit altogether. And yet the problem isn't just that older riders are leaving, it's that younger generations are not stepping in. Millennials and Gen Z are financially squeezed, burdened with student loans, housing costs, and wages that have not kept pace with inflation. Even those who want to ride struggle to justify the expense. The cost of licensing, insurance, gear, and the bike itself now rivals that of a used car. And with high insurance premiums and poor resale value, motorcycles don't look like smart financial decisions. Lifestyle factors play a role too. Urban riders often lack garage space or secure parking. Many live in apartment complexes or shared housing with no place to store a bike. Others are choosing car-sharing apps or public transport over vehicle ownership entirely. And while motorcycle culture once had aspirational value, symbolizing rebellion, freedom, or independence, that cultural weight has eroded. Younger consumers are more safety-conscious, more digitally social, and less likely to romanticize physical risk. But if you think the worst is over, it's not. Because even the buyers still watching from the sidelines know one thing for sure: the bottom hasn't arrived yet. This is not the bottom. Walk into any dealership today and you'll see bold signs promising 0% financing, $4,000 off list price, or buy now pay in 2026. It may look like the bottom has been reached, but that's an illusion. The reality is this market is still falling, and those who wait will likely save more than anyone who buys now. Inventory continues to rise. Bikes from earlier factory runs are still arriving on lots, even as demand continues to dry up. Dealerships are doing everything they can to move product, offering free accessories, extended warranties, and payment deferrals. But the core issue isn't interest rates or features, it's value perception. Consumers believe bikes will be cheaper tomorrow than they are today, and that belief is self-fulfilling. The data supports it. Manufacturer incentives are increasing month over month. Some dealers are now offering discounts that cut into their floor plan interest just to reduce exposure. Used bikes, once a reliable fallback, are now competing with new bikes priced only slightly higher, but with full warranties and zero-mile odometers. Even seasoned riders are pausing. Why buy now when 6 months from now the same bike might be $2,000 cheaper? There's also seasonality to consider. As fall approaches and riding season slows, dealers face storage costs, insurance renewals, and flooring fees. The pressure to sell increases. Historically, September and October are slow months for motorcycle sales. This year, they could be catastrophic. And while buyers can afford to wait, sellers cannot, because the window to get anything close to fair value for your bike is closing fast. If you're selling, sell now. If you're holding onto a motorcycle with plans to sell it when prices rebound, this is your warning. That rebound may never come. Used motorcycle values are collapsing at a pace not seen since the Great Recession. And by the time spring 2026 arrives, it may be too late to get anything close to what your bike was worth just 1 year ago. The numbers are grim. Trade-in values are down 15 to 25% since January. Private sellers are being undercut by repo bikes and dealer clearance sales. Online listings are flooded with inventory, and buyers are either lowballing or walking away entirely. A $9,000 cruiser from 2023? Now it's fetching $6,000 if it sells at all. And this fall, it may drop below $5,000 as desperation grows. The problem is not just oversupply, it's consumer sentiment. Buyers now believe the market is still falling, and that belief is making them more aggressive, less patient, and far more price-sensitive. Many will walk away from a deal over a $500 difference. Others are waiting for Black Friday-style pricing on bikes. Dealerships are slashing trade-in values too, in part because they know they'll sit on that inventory for months. And in a world where every extra day costs interest, insurance, and floor space, time is the new liability. Dealers are now turning away trades altogether unless they're pristine, low mileage, and ready to sell immediately. If you're a private seller, your best chance of maximizing return is now, before the fourth quarter flood of unsold 2025 models hits the market. Once that happens, used bikes will be competing with new bikes that carry even heavier discounts. At that point, depreciation will accelerate even faster. Sell now. Price it aggressively. Be flexible, because 6 months from now there may be no market left at all. And for dealerships hoping to outlast the crash, one thing is clear. Survival won't come from selling more. It will come from transforming how they operate. The dealerships that survive. For the dealerships still standing at the end of 2025, survival will not be about luck. It will be about evolution. The showroom-first sales model is crumbling, and the only shops that will make it through are those that adapt their entire business strategy. First, the survivors will cut fat. That means reducing staff, downsizing floor plans, and walking away from bloated leases. Some will consolidate locations or merge with larger dealership groups. Others will move operations into smaller, more cost-efficient buildings to preserve capital. Holding inventory that doesn't move is no longer just a risk. It's a death sentence. Second, the smartest dealerships are going digital. That means using Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, YouTube walkthroughs, and SEO-targeted landing pages to drive traffic outside of traditional footfall. In an age where customers research and shop online, the physical showroom is no longer the first stop. It's the last. Dealers who treat the internet as their main storefront will survive. Those who treat it as an afterthought will be left behind. Third, successful dealerships will go lean and specialized. Rather than stocking everything, they'll focus on top-selling models, high-turnover used bikes, and service-based income. Warranties, inspections, gear sales, and maintenance packages will become core profit centers. The days of moving 20 cruisers a month are over, but servicing 200 bikes a month? That's still sustainable. Some will pivot completely. Expect to see more dealers transitioning into parts distributors, e-bike sellers, or side-by-side and ATV specialists. Others may become hybrid operations, part service center, part e-commerce gear shop. Flexibility is now the competitive edge. because beyond the showrooms, beyond the buyers and sellers, a much larger shift is coming next. The ripple effects are about to hit governments, unions, suppliers, and entire communities. And the fallout will not be quiet. The financial cost of inaction. The motorcycle industry's implosion is not contained within dealerships and factory floors. It is now destabilizing the entire financial structure built around it. When motorcycle values collapsed in the spring of 2025, lenders found themselves holding millions in high-risk loans that no longer aligned with real-world resale prices. Riders who defaulted on their payments left banks with bikes worth 30 to 40% less than their loan balances. In financial terms, that's called being upside down, and lenders are drowning in it. The ripple effects are everywhere. Repossessed motorcycles are flooding wholesale auctions in record numbers. Normally, these auctions are an efficient way to recover losses, but in today's market, they have become graveyards of unsold machines. Many auction houses are reporting clearance rates below 50%. That means bikes are entering auctions and not leaving. Nobody wants them, not even dealers. And when they do sell, it is often at a loss so steep it further depresses resale values across the board. Then there's the supply chain fallout. Gear manufacturers are reporting inventory surpluses they cannot move. Distributors of helmets, gloves, jackets, and aftermarket parts are watching orders vanish as dealerships cut back drastically. Warehouses that once buzzed with fulfillment activity are now silent, with rows of gear collecting dust. Even transportation companies contracted to ship motorcycles cross-country are being affected. Freight volumes have plummeted and routes are being cut. None of these sectors expected a collapse this deep, and now they are paying the price for not planning for demand shock. But as the economic pain spreads, it is no longer just a financial crisis. It is a political one. And that's exactly when the government started scrambling. Want to know how the motorcycle market will evolve? Hit subscribe and get all the latest updates on how to ride out this storm. Political and economic fallout. When the motorcycle market collapsed, it wasn't just an industry problem, it became a political one. Across the United States, governors, trade unions, and elected officials are now facing pressure from every angle. Hundreds of dealerships have already shuttered, thousands of jobs in sales, service, logistics, and assembly have vanished. Tax revenue from vehicle sales, registration, and local business operations has taken a massive hit. And constituents are demanding answers. The political response has been fragmented and reactive. In some states, lawmakers are proposing emergency relief packages for small dealerships, modeled after farm aid or pandemic-era business loans. Others are floating tax incentives for buyers, attempting to stimulate demand with rebate checks and interest rate subsidies. But those measures face fierce opposition. Critics argue that public funds should not be used to bail out what they call luxury recreational industries. Yet for communities that relied on these dealerships for employment and economic activity, this is no luxury. It is survival. Behind closed doors, the lobbying machines are grinding. Industry associations are pushing for relaxed environmental restrictions to help manufacturers cut costs. Some are even proposing tariffs on imported motorcycles and parts to protect American brands like Harley-Davidson and Indian. Others are calling for federal support in expanding motorcycle licensing programs, arguing that one barrier to new riders is bureaucratic complexity. At the national level, the debate is now drawing comparisons to the auto bailouts of 2008. The big difference? There's far less political appetite today. Many in Washington fear this collapse is just the tip of the iceberg in a broader consumer credit crisis. But while politicians stall and corporations lobby, riders and workers are done waiting, and they are starting to fight back. Riders and workers push back. Something unexpected is happening inside the wreckage of the motorcycle crash. People are organizing. From factory workers laid off with no notice to riders burned by predatory loan terms, a wave of collective frustration is building into a movement. In states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, manufacturing workers have begun picketing at plant gates, demanding severance pay and warning of broader labor actions. These aren't symbolic protests. They are the early signs of a worker-driven reckoning in the powersports industry. Inside dealerships, staff who once earned commissions on bike sales are now earning nothing at all. Many are being asked to do more, manage inventory, handle customer service, even perform tech work, while their pay is frozen or reduced. In response, dealership employees in several states are pushing for unionization, a trend virtually unheard of in powersports until now. These workers are no longer begging for hours. They are demanding rights. And riders? They're angry. Thousands have taken to online forums, social media groups, and video platforms to share stories of financial ruin. Some detail how they were lured by zero-down offers only to discover sky-high interest rates buried in the fine print. Others describe losing thousands in trade-in value after just a few months of ownership. A handful of popular creators are now leading a consumer revolt, calling for transparency in pricing, regulation of dealer markups, and national oversight of motorcycle lending practices. This isn't just dissatisfaction, it's mobilization. The crash didn't just destroy wealth, it triggered a new demand for accountability. Riders aren't walking away quietly. They are organizing and preparing to reshape the industry from the ground up. But what rises from the wreckage will look nothing like the world that just collapsed. What the future looks like now. What comes next will not be a return to normal. The motorcycle industry in the aftermath of 2025 will be leaner, smaller, and radically transformed. Hundreds of dealers are already gone. More will follow, and the ones that remain will not look like the gleaming showrooms of the past. The future dealership is digital first, inventory light, and hyper-focused on used models, service contracts, and parts. Manufacturers are rethinking everything, from model lineups to production volumes. Expect fewer flagship cruisers and hyper-expensive touring bikes. The next wave of motorcycles will likely be mid-range, efficient, and purpose-built for urban or recreational utility. Instead of 50 options on a sales floor, there might be 5. Each one built for modular upgrades and aftermarket personalization. Electric motorcycles and scooters will also accelerate. They are cheaper to build, easier to maintain, and more adaptable to subscription-based models. As younger buyers slowly re-enter the market, they are more likely to finance a short-term mobility solution than commit to a $30,000 touring machine. The industry's future will be defined less by chrome and displacement, and more by convenience and digital integration. For the culture of riding itself, the change will be seismic. The identity of the American motorcyclist, once built around rebellion, open roads, and aspirational ownership, will give way to new values: affordability, practicality, and digital connection. Communities will shift from dealerships to apps, loyalty will shift from brands to platforms, and price, more than ever, will define passion. The motorcycle market is transforming, and those who adapt will thrive. Comment your take on the future, and don't forget to subscribe for more strategies on navigating this crash.